The research ship New Horizon floated peacefully in the cold darkness of space, far from Earth and the Vega star system. The ship's white hull caught the strange light of the alien sun, making it shine like a tiny jewel against the black void. Inside, the crew was busy with their work, completely unaware that their lives were about to change forever. Dr. Emily Watson bent over her computer screen in the science lab, her eyes wide with wonder. She had been studying the readings from the planet below for hours, and what she found was incredible. The scanners showed tiny living things in the planet's soil that were completely different from anything on Earth or any other world humans had visited. "This is amazing," Emily whispered to herself, checking the data again to make sure it was real. The microbes seemed to use a completely different kind of chemistry to stay alive. Some even appeared to eat pure energy instead of regular food like Earth creatures did. She pressed the communication button that connected her to the ship's bridge. "Captain Brooks, you really need to see this right now. These tiny life forms are unlike anything we've ever found before." Captain Tyler Brooks was a tough man in his 50s who had spent 30 years exploring space for Earth. His face was marked with lines from years of worry and hard decisions, but his eyes still sparkled with curiosity about the universe. He walked quickly from his captain's chair to Emily's workstation, his heavy boots echoing in the quiet hallway. "Show me what you found, Emily," he said, leaning over her shoulder to look at the screen. "Command back on Earth is going to be very excited about this discovery." Before Emily could explain her findings, loud warning sirens began screaming throughout the entire ship. Red emergency lights flashed on and off, casting scary shadows on the walls. The peaceful moment was shattered instantly. Navigation Officer Lisa Parker's voice crackled over the ship's speakers. Full of panic and fear, "Captain Brooks, sir, huge energy readings are coming toward us fast. There are unknown ships approaching, and they don't match anything in our computer files." Brooks ran back to the bridge as fast as he could, his heart pounding with worry. Through the big windows at the front of the ship, he could see something that made his blood run cold. Massive shapes were appearing out of nowhere in the darkness of space, like ghosts becoming solid. These weren't normal spaceships made of metal and plastic like human vessels. Instead, they looked alive, like enormous sea creatures swimming through space. Their hulls pulsed with strange organic light that shifted from green to purple to red. Long tentacle-like parts stretched out from their sides, and what looked like eyes glowed along their surfaces. "My God," Brooks whispered, watching as more and more of the bioships materialized around them. There were dozens of them, each one bigger than the New Horizon. They moved with the smooth, deadly grace of hunting sharks circling their prey. Lisa's hands shook as she worked at her control panel. "Yes, sir. They're surrounding us. Whatever these things are, they're definitely not friendly." Brooks knew they were in terrible danger. His ship was built for research, not fighting. They had no weapons, weak shields, and no way to escape from so many enemy vessels. "Communications officer, send an emergency message to Earth immediately," he ordered. "Tell them that first contact with alien life has gone terribly wrong." Communications officer's fingers flew over his keyboard, trying to send the message before it was too late. "Sir, they're jamming our signals. I can barely get anything through." Brooks grabbed the microphone himself, knowing this might be their last chance to warn Earth. "This is Captain Tyler Brooks of the research vessel New Horizon. You're under attack by unknown alien forces in the Vega system. These beings are not here for peaceful contact. I repeat, they are not explorers like us." The bioships moved closer, their organic hulls pulsing faster now, like excited heartbeats. Strange energy beams shot out from them, wrapping around the New Horizon like glowing ropes. Brooks felt the ship shake as the alien vessels began pulling them in. "They're not here to learn about us or make friends," he said into the microphone, his voice growing quieter as the ship's power began to fail. "They're here to feed on us." The transmission cut off just as the New Horizon disappeared into the belly of the largest bioship, swallowed whole like a fish caught by a whale. Miles beneath the rocky surface of Cheyenne Mountain, in a secret military bunker that most people didn't even know existed, Admiral Robert Hayes sat at his command desk when the emergency message arrived. The bunker was so deep underground that Nothing from the outside world could reach it, except for the most important: communications from across human space. Hayes was an old soldier with gray hair and scars on his hands from battles fought long ago. He had been waiting for this moment for over 20 years, hoping it would never come, but knowing someday it would. When the desperate message from Captain Brooks crackled through the speakers, Hayes felt his stomach drop like a stone. The message was broken and full of static, but the words were clear enough. Human civilians were under attack by unknown alien forces. The peaceful contact that everyone had hoped for had turned into humanity's worst nightmare. Hayes picked up a special red phone that connected him directly to the highest levels of Earth's military command. "General Anderson," he said, in a voice as hard as steel, "this is Admiral Hayes. Execute Ghost Protocol immediately. Authorization code Omega-77. The moment those words left his mouth, everything changed across human space. For decades, humanity had been preparing for this exact situation. While the public believed that humans were peaceful explorers who just wanted to study the stars, the truth was very different. Hidden in the shadows, Earth's military had been building the most powerful war machine the galaxy had ever seen. Far out in the asteroid belt between planets, what looked like ordinary mining stations suddenly came to life. Giant metal covers slid away to reveal massive construction yards underneath. These weren't places where humans dug up rocks and metals. They were secret shipyards where the most advanced warships in human history had been built and hidden, waiting for the day they would be needed all across human territory. Cargo ships that had been flying peaceful trade routes for years began to change. Their outer hulls split open and fell away like snakeskin, revealing the deadly warships hidden underneath. What the galaxy thought were simple transport vessels carrying food and supplies were actually disguised battleships loaded with weapons that could destroy entire planets. On a hidden military base floating in the dark space between stars, Commander Jake Mitchell stood on the bridge of the massive warship called Retribution. This ship was so big that it could carry 1,000 smaller vessels inside it, and its weapons were powerful enough to crack moons in half. Mitchell was not like the scientists and explorers on the New Horizon. He was a career soldier who had spent his entire adult life training for war against alien enemies. His crew was made up of the best military minds humanity had ever produced. People who had studied every possible way to fight battles in space. The bridge of the Retribution looked nothing like the peaceful research vessel that had been captured. Instead of scientific equipment, every surface was covered with weapon controls. Battle computers and tactical displays showing the positions of enemy forces, and the lighting was red and dim, designed to help the crew see clearly during combat. "It's our fleet status?" Mitchell asked his tactical officer, a sharp young woman whose job was to coordinate attacks. Lieutenant Amy Foster looked at her computer screens, which showed the locations of hundreds of human warships across space. Each green dot represented a vessel that was now revealing its true military purpose. "Sir, all ships are reporting ready for combat. Every vessel in the Terran Expeditionary Force is fully operational and waiting for orders." Mitchell nodded, his face showing no emotion except cold determination. The Terran Expeditionary Force was humanity's secret weapon, a fleet of warships so advanced and powerful that they had been kept hidden from the rest of the galaxy, while aliens thought humans were weak and peaceful. The truth was that humanity had been preparing for interstellar war since the day they first left Earth. "Communications, send a message to all fleet commanders," Mitchell ordered. "Tell them it's time to show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens human civilians." The age of hiding is over. Across human space, thousands of disguised warships powered up their engines and weapon systems. Humanity was about to reveal its true nature to the universe, and the aliens who had attacked the New Horizon were going to learn a very hard lesson about what happened when you picked a fight with Earth's children. Admiral Korthok sat in his command throne aboard the massive bioship that served as the flagship of the Hegemony fleet. The throne was made from the living bone of his ship, pulsing with a sickly green light that matched his cold reptilian eyes. Around him, His bridge crew worked at stations that looked more like infected organs than computer terminals. Korthok was confident and arrogant, the way predators always are when they think they've found easy prey. His species, the hegemony, had conquered dozens of worlds across the galaxy. They were masters of biological warfare, using living ships that could heal themselves and weapons that turned enemies into food. "Look at these pathetic creatures approaching us," Korthak hissed to his officers, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the air. "Their ships are so primitive, like metal boxes held together with hope and desperation." Through the organic viewing screens that grew from his ship's walls, Korthok watched the human fleet approaching from deep space. The ships looked crude and basic compared to the elegant biovessels of the hegemony. They were made of simple steel and titanium, with sharp angles and harsh edges that seemed to cut through space itself. "Sir," one of his subordinates said with a voice like grinding gravel, "these humans barely seem to understand how faster-than-light travel works. Their engines are so inefficient compared to our biological systems." Korthok laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "This will be the easiest conquest in hegemony history. We'll consume their homeworld and use their bodies to feed our ships. These humans don't even deserve to be remembered." But his laughter stopped suddenly when something impossible happened. The human ships didn't arrive scattered and confused like most species did when they jumped out of hyperspace. Instead, they appeared all at once in perfect formation, surrounding the entire hegemony fleet, like they had planned this movement for years. "What is this?" "Ow!" Korthok snarled, his confidence beginning to crack. No species can coordinate hyperspace jumps with that kind of precision. The human ships were positioned in a sphere around the alien fleet, with every angle of escape covered. These weren't the desperate, panicked vessels that Korthok had expected. They moved with military discipline, each ship knowing exactly where it was supposed to be. Captain David Torres stood on the bridge of his destroyer. It's a ship called Vengeance that lived up to its name. Unlike the organic, living appearance of the alien vessels, his ship was all business, or every surface was designed for war. With weapon systems that could fire in any direction and armor thick enough to withstand almost anything, Torres opened a communication channel to the alien fleet, his voice calm and professional despite the deadly situation. "This is Captain David Torres of the Terran Expeditionary Force. I'm giving you exactly 30 seconds to release our people and leave this star system immediately." Korthok received the message and began laughing again, but this time his laughter sounded forced and nervous. "Did you hear that? This primitive creature thinks it can make demands of the mighty hegemony? We who have devoured entire civilizations?" But Torres wasn't bluffing, and he wasn't interested in negotiation. When the 30 seconds were up, he gave a simple order to his weapons officer: "All ships, open fire. Target their largest vessels first." What happened next changed everything Korthok thought he knew about warfare. The human weapons didn't fire slowly or give warning shots like most civilized species. Instead, they unleashed a devastating barrage that lit up space like a deadly fireworks display. Beams of pure energy and projectiles moving at incredible speeds smashed into the hegemony bioships. The aliens had always believed their living vessels were nearly indestructible, able to heal from almost any damage. But the human weapons weren't designed to wound or disable. They were designed to kill completely and permanently. Korthak screamed as he watched his ships explode around him. "Our bioarmor should be able to stop anything. How are these primitive weapons cutting through our defenses like they're made of paper?" The living ships of the hegemony, which had seemed so powerful and threatening just moments before, were dying faster than they could regenerate. Human weapons found every weak spot, every vulnerable system, and destroyed them with surgical precision. Torres's voice came through the communication channel again, but now it was cold and emotionless, like death itself speaking. "Welcome to human warfare, Admiral. We've been studying your kind for longer than you know. We don't fight wars to capture territory or show off our power. We fight wars to end them permanently." As more hegemony ships exploded into pieces, Korthak finally understood the terrible mistake his species had made. They had attacked what they thought was a helpless research vessel. But they had actually declared war on the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever produced. The hunters had become the hunted. and humanity was about to teach the hegemony why you should never threaten Earth's children. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed before. For 3 long hours, space itself seemed to burn with the fury of human weapons and the desperate screams of dying alien bioships. But from the very first moment, everyone watching knew how this fight would end. The human fleet moved like a perfectly coordinated dance of death. Each ship knew exactly where to be and when to be there, working together like parts of one giant war machine. Their weapons fired in perfect timing, creating patterns of destruction that left no room for escape. Colonel Rachel Stone commanded the massive battlecruiser called Defiance from her position on the bridge. She was a career military officer who had spent 15 years studying alien combat tactics, waiting for the day when humanity would face its first real enemy. Her ship was one of the largest in the human fleet, bristling with weapons that could destroy entire cities. Listen carefully. Stone's voice crackled over the communication system that connected every human vessel. We target their command ships first. If we cut off their ability to coordinate, the rest of their fleet will fall apart like a house of cards. Her tactical officer, a young man who had trained his whole life for this moment, highlighted the enemy command vessels on his targeting computer. Ma'am, I've identified 7 large bioships that appear to be controlling the others. Should I mark them for priority destruction? Do it, Stone replied without hesitation. Show these aliens what happens when you pick a fight with humanity. The hegemony bioships had always been incredibly powerful in past conflicts. Their living hulls could heal from damage, their organic weapons could adapt to enemy defenses, and their biological systems were supposed to be impossible to predict. But all of those advantages meant nothing against human. Military doctrine. Human weapons were designed with one purpose in mind: complete and total destruction of the enemy. The quantum torpedoes that human ships fired didn't just hit their targets from the outside. Instead, they materialized directly inside enemy ships, bypassing all armor and shields to explode from within. There was no defense against weapons that could appear anywhere they wanted to. The railgun rounds that other human ships fired moved so fast that they traveled at a significant percentage of the speed of light itself. When something that heavy, moving that fast, hit a target, it didn't just damage the ship. It punched clean through multiple vessels at once, creating chains of destruction that rippled through the alien formation. Their bioarmor is trying to adapt to our weapons, reported one of Stone's officers. But our technology changes faster than their healing can keep up with. That was the key difference between human and alien warfare. The hegemony relied on their natural biological advantages, thinking that their living ships made them superior to any mechanical enemy. But humans had spent centuries perfecting the art of war, creating weapons and tactics that could overcome any defense. Admiral Korthok, trapped aboard his dying flagship as explosions rocked the ship around him, finally understood the magnitude of his species' mistake. His throne room was filling with smoke and the screams of his injured crew. The organic walls that had once pulsed with healthy life were now withering and turning black. With shaking hands, he activated his ship's emergency communication system and tried to contact the human fleet. "This is Admiral Korthok of the Hegemony Forces," he said, his voice cracking with desperation. "We surrender. We yield. Please stop the attack." The response came from Commander Tyler Walsh, whose heavy cruiser judgment had been systematically destroying hegemony ships for the past hour. Walsh's voice was calm and professional, but underneath it was something cold and final. "Admiral Korthak," Walsh said, "when you attacked our research vessel, you had a choice. You could have tried to communicate, tried to learn about us, tried to find a peaceful solution. Instead, you chose to treat human civilians as food." More explosions shook Korthok's dying ship as human weapons continued their relentless assault. The Admiral could see through his viewing screens that most of his fleet was already destroyed, turned into scattered debris floating in the darkness of space. "You wanted to consume our worlds and turn our people into fuel for your bioships." Walsh continued, his words cutting through the chaos like a knife. "Well, Admiral, now you get to see what happens when Earth's children come home to play. We don't show mercy to those who show none." The systematic destruction of the hegemony fleet continued with mathematical precision. Human ships moved from target to target, ensuring that every alien vessel was completely destroyed. There would be no survivors to return home with warnings. No damaged ships limping back to hegemony space with tales of human strength. By the time the battle ended, the message was clear to anyone watching across the galaxy. Humanity had announced itself to the universe not as peaceful explorers, but as the most dangerous predators the stars had ever seen. The rescue mission to save the crew of the New Horizon was carried out with the same deadly efficiency that had just destroyed an entire alien fleet. Human Marines in advanced combat armor stormed through the damaged bioships, their weapons, cutting through organic corridors that still pulsed with dying life. Dr. Emily Watson found herself standing on the observation deck of the massive warship called Retribution, still trying to process everything that had happened. Just hours ago, she had been a peaceful scientist studying microbes on a distant planet. Now she was watching the aftermath of humanity's first interstellar war. Through the reinforced windows, she could see the wreckage of what had once been a mighty hegemony fleet. Pieces of bioships drifted through space, like the remains of some massive sea creature that had been torn apart by sharks. The organic hulls that had once glowed with threatening life were now dark and cold, their bioluminescent patterns faded. Forever? Is it finally over? Emily asked Commander Jake Mitchell, who stood beside her watching the cleanup operations. Her voice was quiet and shaky. Still processing the violence she had witnessed, Mitchell's face was hard and serious, like a man who understood the weight of what had just happened. The battle is over, Dr. Watson. But this was never really about just one fight. This was about introducing humanity to the galaxy and showing everyone what we're capable of. As Mitchell spoke, Emily could see human ships in the distance, chasing down the few hegemony vessels that had tried to escape. These weren't mercy missions or attempts to capture prisoners. The human ships were hunting down every single alien vessel to make sure none of them could return home to warn their people about what they had discovered far across the galaxy. On thousands of different worlds belonging to hundreds of different alien species, something unprecedented was happening. Every major civilization was receiving the same transmission from a species they had never heard of before: humanity. The message began with footage that made alien leaders across the galaxy stop whatever they were doing and pay attention. The video showed the complete and total destruction of the hegemony fleet, one of the most feared military forces in known space. Bioships that had terrorized entire star systems were reduced to floating debris in a matter of hours. But the footage didn't stop there. Human ships had followed the fleeing hegemony vessels back to their home worlds. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as entire planets that had been converted into biological weapon factories were systematically destroyed from orbit. The message was clear. Humanity didn't just win battles, they solved problems permanently. President Collins, the leader of Earth's government, appeared on screens across the galaxy. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes, but his words carried the weight of the most powerful military force the universe had ever seen. The United Earth's government extends greetings to all sentient species throughout the galaxy, Collins said, his voice calm and diplomatic. We are humanity, and we come from a world called Earth. We hope to establish peaceful relations with all civilized species. The president paused, and behind him appeared images of the human fleet in all its terrifying glory. Thousands of warships that had been hidden for decades, weapons that could crack planets, and soldiers trained for interstellar warfare. However, Collins continued, let there be no misunderstanding about our capabilities. We come in peace, but we are fully prepared for war if peace is not possible. The hegemony chose to treat our people as prey. You have seen the consequences of that choice. We strongly recommend that all future contacts with humanity be conducted. With this in mind, Captain Tyler Brooks, the commander of the New Horizon, who had sent the desperate message that started this whole conflict, now stood safely aboard the Retribution. He looked out through the same windows where Emily Watson had watched the battle, but his expression was different. He understood something that would take the rest of humanity time to accept. We're not the same species we were yesterday, Brooks said quietly to Mitchell. Yesterday we were explorers and scientists hoping to make friends among the stars. Today we're the apex predators of the galaxy. Mitchell nodded grimly. The galaxy spent millions of years thinking that biological superiority and natural evolution made species strong. They never imagined what could happen when a species chose to make themselves strong through technology and determination. Word of humanity's victory spread faster than light itself through the networks of communication that connected civilized worlds. Species that had dominated their regions of space for thousands of years suddenly found themselves wondering if they would be next. The comfortable order of galactic civilization had been shattered in a single day. The age of human expansion was beginning, and every alien species in the galaxy now had to make a choice. They could welcome humanity as allies and trading partners, or they could face the same fate as the hegemony. Most chose wisely. Humanity had announced itself to the universe not as peaceful explorers seeking knowledge, but as the children of a world that had spent its entire history perfecting the art of war. The galaxy would never underestimate them again.